Hey everyone, welcome back to Bench Mob. It's that time of the year again where we're going to be giving our predictions for the 2023 NBA playoffs. Started off, I'm your host this week, Nick Aslin, joined with
Kevin Rollins
and Carson Zorn.
All right, so let's just jump right in. First matchup, we're recording this right before the 8 seed matchups, so we don't know who the Nuggets are playing yet, whether it's going to be the Thunder or the Timberwolves, but I think we're all pretty much set on who we're going to pick, and I'm going to start us off. I got the Nuggets here. I don't think there's going to be much of a contest whether they're playing the Thunder or the Timberwolves, but I think they'll probably be playing the Thunder.
The Denver fans, the city of Denver, they have a good team move for the playoffs, so Nuggets country, let's mine.
Yeah, I got the Nuggets winning this series no matter. I think it'll be the Thunder as well. I agree with Nick. I think the Thunder will take care of the Timberwolves tonight. So I got the Nuggets taking care of this series pretty easy. I'm not sure how far they'll go in the West just because I have to see how they play in the playoffs before I can say anything for sure. But I got the Nuggets taking this series.
Our next matchup, we have the Grizzlies versus the Lakers. Lakers back in the playoffs. This is tough. I really want to pick the Lakers. I think they're carrying a lot of momentum into the playoffs, and they've clearly been a lot better since the trade deadline. So long, Russell Westbrook. So I got the Lakers upsetting the Grizzlies here.
This is definitely one of the most intriguing series. You have LeBron, who is now the all-time scoring leader. So look, people still haven't called him the GOAT yet, they can probably start calling him now. He is back in the playoffs. And the Memphis Grizzlies, they've been good, but they've been very interesting. John Moran, he's been shooting a lot throughout the season. And then there's Dylan Brooks, whom he has caused a lot of attention in what I think is the wrong way. He tends to cause a lot of arguments and possible fights in game. And he went out and said this week he wants to play LeBron. All right, buddy, you're playing with fire. He might send you to China for it. Give me the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Lakers here. I have them winning the series 4-3. The GM is back in the playoffs, and you can never count out LeBron when he's in the playoffs. I agree with Kevin. John Morant has been doing a lot of shooting on and off the court. John Morant has been a big distraction for this Grizzlies team. Dylan Brooks as well. Like you said, you're playing with fire. He's kind of for an NFL comparison, he's the Eli Apple of the NBA. He just kind of talks a lot of smack and doesn't do a whole lot to back it up and kind of asks to get clowned on.
For our next matchup, we have the Kings returning finally to the playoffs against the defending champion Golden State Warriors. Who do you guys got here?
We got Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have Chef Curry, Pool Party, Clay, Draymond Green. They are the defending champs against this surpriser from Sacramento. The Kings have been lighting up the scoreboard, lighting up the beam all year. This is the matchup I'm most looking forward to the most. This is going to be exciting to watch. I think it's going to be extremely high scoring. The Kings do tend to get themselves in those types of games. Not a lot of people are still giving the Kings a lot of praise because they're still the Warriors. They have the championship mentality. They can play like themselves, but I think I'm going to go with the Kings. I think that they show up, they show out, and there's a reason why the Warriors are the 60 the way they are.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting series. I was talking to Nick before the show, and I agree with what Kevin said. I think it's going to be an incredibly entertaining and high-scoring series. You've got a lot of shooters on both sides of the court. The Splash Brothers are going to be unstoppable, though, in my opinion. They always are when it comes to the playoffs. And now that you've got Jordan Poole, who lit it up last playoffs and has been continuing this way, there's going to be a lot of great games between these two, and I think a lot of the games will be tight. But I think the Warriors are going to win this series 4-2. Congrats, Kings, on making it back to the playoffs finally, but no beam will be lit this year.
Yeah, kind of mirroring what both of you just said. The Kings, you have to give them credit for such an amazing season. They got the 3rd seed in the West, but the Warriors, they just have so much playoff experience, and while they haven't performed well on the road all year, if they can steal one game on the road, then it's the Warriors series to lose, I think. So I'm going to have to go with the Warriors here. I got them moving on. For our next matchup, we have the Phoenix Suns led by Kevin Durant against Carson's Clippers. Who do you got here, Carson?
This is a tough one. I want to pull for my Clippers. I do. They've been a very up and down team this year. They've won a lot of games that I didn't expect them to, and then lost some that they definitely shouldn't have. I think the biggest question in this series is the health of Paul George, because if Paul George is healthy, the Clippers have an unstoppable trio of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the newly acquired Russell Westbrook, who I formerly called Russell Westbrook, but now that he's actually playing good for my team, I can't do that anymore, and I respect him as a player. So the big question is, does Paul George come back this series? I'm having flashbacks to the 2021 playoffs when Kawhi tore his ACL, but they didn't publicize that. And they were like, oh, Kawhi will be back next game, and then he wasn't. They're like, oh, he'll be back next game. So I'm having flashbacks of that with Paul George. They're like, he won't be ready game 1, but maybe he'll come back for game 2. I can't feel confident about the Clippers enough, especially because Ty Lue always makes these adjustments in the middle of series way too late. It's happened every year the Clippers have been in the playoffs under his regime. Is once he figures out how to beat a team, he figures it out about 2 to 3 games too late, and at that point the Clippers have already dug themselves into a hole. So, as unfortunate as it is, I'm going to pick the Suns to win this series 4-3. I don't see the Clippers moving on, but if they do, I will be pleasantly surprised.
Carson, I know that for a lot of your teams you have dealt with some heartbreak recently, but I'm going to show you some love. I think the Clippers, they come out victorious in a hard-fought series. This is probably going to go to 7 games, but I think for now the Clippers will move on to the next round.
That's bold, Kevin.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to side with Carson and take the Suns to beat his Clippers. I just think the Suns are too powerful of a team with Kevin Durant on the court, and Kevin Durant didn't force his way out of Brooklyn to just get knocked out in the first round. So I have the Suns here in the West. So now moving on to the East, we have our first matchup, my Milwaukee Bucks versus either the Bulls or Kevin's Heat. I don't care who it is that they end up playing. The Bucks are winning this series, no questions about it. Sorry, Kevin. Who do you got?
Well, the Miami Heat, they were the 7th seed, but they went into the play matchup on Tuesday against the Hawks. I was very confident. I thought that he would take care of business and move on into playoffs and be ready to face whoever they would play against. And the Heat have been up and down this year. They always tend to have a really good season followed by a really bit of a down year, and this happens to be, unfortunately, a down year. Now, I think that they are either going to just straight up lose to the Bulls by the time this is uploaded, or they'll give the Bucks a big fight, probably push it to at least 6 games, but I don't think, I think the Heat need to look at the drawing board this offseason.
You know what, Kevin, since you were so nice to my Clippers, I'll extend an olive branch, and I will say I think the Heat will win tonight and beat the Bulls. But that's where my olive branch ends. Get out the brooms. The Bucks are going to sweep the Heat once the first round comes around. Like Kevin said, the Heat are just a very up and down team, and I think when you're an up and down team in the playoffs, it tends to not work out too well for you.
All right, moving on. Our next matchup in the East, number 2 seed Celtics versus the number 7 Hawks. I got the Celtics here. I don't see the Hawks beating the Celtics, even if I'm not that high on the Celtics making it to the finals again this year. But I don't see them losing to the Hawks.
A lot of these teams, they go into the playoffs, they might steal like game 1 or game 2, but then that's about all they can do. Boston, they're still really good. They're the defending Eastern Conference champions. They can play they just have that style of basketball. They can just play well a lot of time, and should be pretty easy for Boston.
Yeah, I don't think the Hawks stand much of a chance in this series. I agree with Kevin. I think the Hawks will come in and steal 1 game within the first 3, but then that'll be it. I got the Celtics winning this series 4-1.
All right, moving on. Next matchup, we have the 3 seed 76ers versus the number 6 Nets. Honestly, such an accomplishment for the Nets to even make the playoffs this year. But I think this is where it ends for them. I think the 76ers are just going to sweep the Nets. I don't see the Nets standing much of a chance against the Sixers, and Joel Embiid, mainly Joel Embiid.
Usually at least one matchup where it ends up being a 4-0 situation. This seems like the most likely bet. Now, like you said, Nick, give kudos to the Nets. They shipped off everyone after their attempt at running a super team failed. I think that for now the Sixers will take this in, like you said, most likely 4 games.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how the Nets got here. It kind of reminds me of that Paul Rudd meme where it's like, hey, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me. because as they both already said, the Nets just blew everything up. They really did. They just took their team, that there was this super team that was supposed to go win championships, and they blew it up, and they still make the playoffs as a top 6 seed. They didn't even have to go to a play-in game to make the playoffs. I think the 76ers take this series, but I'm not going to agree with you guys on the sweep. I think the Nets have a little bit of a fight in them, and I think the 76ers win the series 4-2. I think the Nets steal 2 somewhere within the series, maybe 1 in Brooklyn, 1 in Philadelphia. I'm not exactly sure. But for some reason, I just don't see the Nets getting swept. I think they got a little bit of dog in them, and I think that'll calculate to a win or 2.
All right, final matchup. We have the number 4 seed Cavs versus the 5 seed Knicks. I'm excited for this one. I think these are both 2 very leveled teams that have just a ton of fight in them. Not a lot of playoff experience for either side. Like, I know the Cavs have Donovan Mitchell, and I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be one of the big reasons why I'm taking the Cavs to win this series. I think he's just going to take over and knock the Knicks out, and I think Stephen A. Smith is going to be pretty angry come after this on First Take.
I do know some fans of Cleveland as well. Cleveland down in Ohio, they've been having a great season this year, especially after having no star talent after LeBron left again. But they're back in the playoffs. You have these 2 teams that are neck and neck with each other. I think the Knicks will actually take this.
I think eventually Spider-Man will send the Knicks far from home to Cancun. I think the Cavs take this series 4-2. I think that this Cavs roster is just built to win a couple playoff games, a couple playoff series maybe. I don't know if I see them coming out of the East necessarily, because I think there is still a lot of inexperience on that roster. But it is a roster top to bottom that I look at it, and I'm like, this is a roster that's built to win at least a playoff series or 2, especially against a team that I think they're very well matched against with the Knicks. So Spike Lee and Stephen A. Smith probably won't be too happy.
All right, there you have it. There's all of our picks for the first round of the NBA playoffs. Be sure to tune in after round 1. Check out round 2, see how we did. And thanks for watching.